I'm Yesenia Taveras. Welcome to La Conexión, the Connection. I have here with us Mr. Williams from R.E. Williams Tax Accountant, who's going to discuss with us some of the benefits that one can receive in regards to immigration tax laws. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ms. Taveras. Thank you so much for having us. I'm with an agency called R.E. Williams Tax Accountant, and we practice immigration tax law. And some of the things that we are, or that you're eligible for, first of all, if you're hardworking and you don't have a Social Security number, there's something you can apply for called a ITIN number. It stands for Independent Taxpayer Identification Number. It's equivalent to a Social Security number. This will allow you to join our workforce and take the benefits of some of those tax deductions that you may otherwise not be qualified for.
And how would an immigrant apply for such a thing?
You can apply directly through our office, or you can apply directly to the Internal Revenue Service. There is a form there. You would just have to identify that form, and they would be more than happy to help you fill it out.
And then when we think of filing our taxes, there's a lot of deductions that could be written off. However, yes. For the Latino community and some of the immigrants who are unaware of these deductions, let's go ahead and talk about some of the medical expenses that one can receive.
As far as medical, the medical deductions that most people don't or are not aware of that you can write off. You can write off medical deductions as far as your dental, eyeglasses, prescriptions. If you belong to a healthcare organization, a Blue Cross Blue Shield, you can write off your portion that you contribute toward that overall health care. There's co-payments for yourself that you can write off, as well as co-payments for your families. There's items as far as specialty items, specialty doctors like mammograms, or colonoscopies and x-rays and things of that nature.
So what is a good practice for one? Because generally by nature we don't keep receipts for anything unless if you are knowledgeable on
Absolutely.
Such things and you know right away, well, let me keep a receipt for everything because when it's time to file taxes, I have that should I get audited. But what are some practices that you can help with some of the immigrants or those in the Latino community who are unaware that they should go ahead and take up on and have it as a second nature so once tax season comes, they know what to do and what to provide? Well,
our practice, like you said, Mr. Flores, is most people don't keep receipts. We urge you, we cannot stress it enough, that please keep your receipts. That is your justification for the expenses in the event that you get audited. The Internal Revenue Service has a practice. Some say you should keep your receipts for 7 years, some says for 10 years. We recommend that you keep them sort of indefinite, at least for 15 years, in the event that you need to have them readily available. They can be gathered. So we recommend you keep your receipts. I cannot stress that enough.
And how should one organize them? Sometimes people just throw them in a box and that's it. But is there another method to this madness?
You can, yes, you can organize them by category if you choose to. Sometimes, because our job is to sort of educate you so that you get into practice of keeping them, we say put them in a shoebox. We will sort them for you at the end of the year. And we'll hand them back to you organized, and then as we go through this practice maybe for a couple of years, then you'll get the hang of it and you'll be able to organize your receipts. It makes our job a little bit easier in terms of processing your return and getting you back your refund.
And should one worry about like maybe having a folder with the month in it, or it doesn't really matter once they bring the material to you?
It doesn't really matter, because if you're ill in January and you're not due back to your doctor until March, we will go through and sort those, because we're looking for not month-end numbers, we're looking for year-end numbers to total at the end of the year.
Oh, okay, great point. And now for those Latinos, we have a lot of us who are entrepreneurs, but we also have a lot of us who want to become homeowners. So when it comes time to buying our first house or buying another house, what are some of the things that we should be made aware of when it comes to filing our taxes?
Well, when it comes to home ownership, and most people feel that you can only deduct or do what we call a 1040 long form if you are a homeowner. And that's not necessarily so. But if you're buying your first home or you're buying a new home, we recommend that your closing cost, the moving expense, if you incur that cost moving from one home to the next, or what the expense it takes to look for a new home, to move from an apartment to a new home, those costs are tax deductible. And so if you buy a piece of property and you have to let's say, put a new roof on, or you have to get a new heating system, new windows, and you incur those type of costs. Those type of costs can be written off, and there's two ways you can do that. You can capitalize those costs, which means at the end of the term, whenever you decide to sell your home, you can certainly recoup those costs at that time. Or you can do what we call maintenance costs, and by writing them off using the maintenance cost tax law, you're able to recoup those monies as you go along to help maintain your home.
And what are some examples? For example, I have a house, and
Yes.
instead of hiring someone, a contractor, I want to put in my own tiles or do my own flooring, paint the walls, fix the back deck. Like, what are some examples that people should be aware of that will count as a deduction?
Well, and we strongly recommend everyone is not able to go out and hire a contractor. Most people are just hardworking homeowners. And so we recommend if you're buying yourself from wherever you choose to, Home Depot, Lowe's, or one of those type of outlets, that you get your receipts for those items. If you're buying roofing material, if you're putting in a new heating system, if you're installing new windows or corking them, or you're painting or putting in a new bathroom or a new kitchen or tiling your floors, please save those receipts. You can put them on your Visa card. You may have a debit card. You may be paying for some of those items in cash, but please track those receipts. And again, put them in a shoebox. We will be more than happy to sort them for you at the end of the year during tax time.
And for the entrepreneurs at Nature who
Yes.
want to have their own business but cannot afford renting out a space, for example, here in downtown Wilmington, and they want to start their own business from their house, what are some of the things that we should be made aware of that we can actually deduct when tax season comes?
Having your home office within inside your home is something that's been growing over the last 20 years. At one time, most corporations had allowed their employees to work from home. And so that's still relatively a very big deduction. You can write off if you have internet services, if you have your desk, a certain part of your home, you may have a room, a certain amount of square footage that's actually designated to your home office, you can write that off. And usually it's about a third. Tax law is about a third. So if you have a mortgage, you can write off about a third. If you have heating, electricity, phone service, your computer, your internet, things of that nature, it's about a third that's actually allotted to the square footage of your home office.
And how about appliances? If one's into photography, you have your Kodak printers. If one's into print screening t-shirts and they have their own equipment at the house, are these items that they can still deduct?
Yes, any equipment that you have to perform your particular job is a tax write-off. They're considered to be a part of your assets. So if you're photography, like you mentioned, you have your equipment, you do silk screening, you do shirts, or any of that nature. You have computers, you have printers, the paper, your paper supplies. All those things are considered to be office supplies, or you're a part of your assets to be able to conduct your job.
Okay.
And to do it good.
That's wonderful to know that it's a third too as well.
Yes, absolutely.
And so for charitable reasons, there's a lot of us, I know for myself, every year, particularly when we do spring cleaning, I'm constantly donating clothes, shoes, purses, anything and everything you can think of to my relatives, my family, my cousins, my friends back at Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. But you made reference to myself once we were talking previously about that being a deductible item as well. So how should one prepare themselves for this type of deduction when they want to donate such items, either used or new, to relatives and friends back at their homeland, their country land?
Okay. Well, the tax law allows for you to make non-cash, cash and non-cash, but I think we're talking a little bit about non-cash when you're talking about giving to charitable organizations or giving charity, whether your clothes or things like that you're donating even back to family members. It's considered to be a charity act. And so as you keep those, the transport, you may be transporting shoes or clothing, and again, you look like you invest a lot into your clothing and just things that you can't use that other people can use. You can take that right off. The amount of money that it takes, the value of the clothing, the amount of money that it takes to ship them back to your homeland, it's certainly a tax deductible.
So that includes the weight of the actual suitcase, and if it's
Absolutely.
an extra cost for the extra pounds,
That's correct.
all that is included?
That's correct. And I know a lot of people, and I've spoken to a lot of people over the years that do give back. They do charitable, where we're talking about non-cash, but also people send money back home for their loved ones and the ones that maybe are a little bit less fortunate or that can use those dollars to help them along the way. They donate those dollars from their budget. And so,
Okay.
yes, it does become tax deductible.
And like
on
you
the
said
side.
too, also for those who like to donate to an actual cause,
Yes.
marathon,
Absolutely.
a church organization, a nonprofit,
Right.
what would they do if they donated for these type of organizations?
Well, as you donate to them, certainly Salvation Army is a big one. A lot of people donate to their church. You want to see if you can get a receipt and hold on to that receipt, because those receipts, again, for audit purposes, for filing your taxes correctly, that is your justification.
Okay.
And so you want to keep those receipts, and this way you can compile your information and it can be reflected correctly.
Okay, wonderful. And now for us hardworking individuals, some of us require uniforms when we are working at a particular place
correct.
or organization. What should we look into when maintaining this uniform? Should it be clothing? Should it be hat gear or jackets or shoes? How does work expenses play into this?
Well, the tax law says you can write off your work clothes, your work shoes. You can write off cell phones if your employer uses that number to contact you. So usually most of us carry our cell phones. Your employer calls your home. You're not available. The next available number is your cell phone. And that's what makes it a tax write-off. Your employer is not going to reimburse you for that expense. Your work clothes and work shoes and maintaining those, the government allows you to have probably about 2 weeks worth of work clothes before you either have to wash them, dry clean them, and get them ready for the next 2 weeks. And those things are tax deductible. They do like to have like if you work for, let's say, any company, they do want to have that emblem or detecting or being able to identify that that is a work uniform. Dressing, if you dress in your professional clothing, that's something that you would have to change, and I think the tax law is pretty clear there. If you have a uniform and we're going out to dinner, you literally have to go and change to make yourself presentable to go to dinner. If you're doing professional work, you can just make the transition right to dinner without ever changing.
And for those of us who have children, or those of us who have niece and nephews that we're taking care of, what are some of the expenses that we should be aware of, especially for those immigrants who are coming here and bringing their children as well?
Yes. Well, there's always, like with any family and with any children, there's always the daycare, having someone to care for them while the parents work. There's also those expenses, pediatrician expenses and their well-being and medicine for them. That's something that we didn't talk about, but prescriptions are tax deductible as well, and most people are not aware of that. But those are the type of things that you need, again, to just reiterate what I said about daycare and just the upkeep of those children in a healthy manner, their health, their eyeglasses,
And lastly, Mr. Williams, before we leave, what are some of the traveling expenses that we can actually look forward to deducting come tax season?
Right. Well, let's say, for instance, if you speak and you're speaking in Philadelphia, or you're speaking in Maryland, or you're speaking in Washington, D.C., and you drive, you can deduct those expenses. You get on Amtrak and you're taking down the train, you can deduct those expenses as well. You get down there and you start parking, you can deduct those expenses. So even your meals going down, there's a portion of the tax law that allows for you to deduct 50% of that traveling expense with your meal. So there's quite a few deductions. Our job is just to educate you on the tax law, and especially in this case on the immigration tax law, and just so we can find a better way to serve the Latino community and be able to help them and educate them on what's available to them.
And before we leave, can you let us know in the Latino community how one can learn more about this information, get educated, how they can reach you, and basically learn more about these type of deductions and anything else
Absolutely.
related to immigration tax laws?
Thank you. We can be, our office number is area code 302 660 2106. My direct number is area code 302-598-7171. So again, let me just repeat that. My office number is area code 302-660-2111, because I gave you an extension. But the office number is the 302-660-2111.
Okay.
And you have my direct number. So it's such a pleasure to come on. Always willing to help out in the community. We just find it to be an honor to be able to serve the Latino community as well as everyone else in the community.
Thank you so much. It's definitely been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thanks.
Stay tuned. We'll have more of La Conexión when we return.